This flower in Minecraft took me 233 hours to obtain. Here's how. In previous videos of this series, I haven't so much as been killing mobs as I have been getting my ass kicked by them. So now it's time to change that. The first thing I did was open up a bunch of Jerry boxes to try and get a green Jerry talisman, which would give me 5 extra magical power, which if you don't know, magical power is basically extra stats. Next, I decided to focus on getting a weapon upgrade. By collecting ice minions that I've had down on my island for about a month, I was able to get enough ice to craft the frozen scythe. And this item was going to be a massive profile upgrade. This is mainly because of the Ice Bolt ability, which does 1000 damage and only gets stronger the more mana I have. The first thing I did was reforge the scythe to heroic, which will give it 65 more intelligence, which ends up being a tiny bit more damage. However, the biggest upgrade I will be making is to my armor set, since as you can see here, neither my glaciite nor my ender set will give me any intelligence at all. So it's time for an upgrade. Now to do this, I grabbed a ton of crystal fragments left over from when I sniped all those dragons 6 months ago, and I used it to craft crystal armor. This was because crystal armor gave an absolute ton of intelligence, which I could use to increase the damage of my scythe by many times. And when coupled with the wise reforge, I was able to get over 1000 mana, which, I did the math, is 4 times the ability damage that I started with. Now that I have this new and improved setup, there is no reason for me to have ender armor anymore, so I'll just put it into my vault along with 2 stock of stocks and an art of war. Instead of getting a crystal helmet, I instead opted for the dark goggles, which will give me 25 ability damage, which in turn will increase the total damage dealt by my scythe by 25%. There was one more upgrade I needed to make. Between videos, I had collected a ton of accessories, bringing it up to a total of 257 magical power. Now to actually use the magical power that the accessories give me, I will have to talk to Maxwell and select a power. Since the right click ability of my scythe does more damage the more intelligence I have, I selected the inspired power and set all my tuning points to intel. However, inspired was not going to cut it if I wanted to play mage in dungeons, so instead I decided to unlock the sighted power up. The only problem was the sighted power up required 9 of an item known as ender monocles, and right now I only have 5. Now the only way to obtain ender monocles is by getting a rare drop from watchers in the end, so I went over to kill some. However, in my haste to get to the end, I made a crucial mistake. I forgot to put looting on my scythe. This was bad because without looting, the chances of me getting a monocle will basically be slashed in half. However, some mistakes do have a happy ending. The lobby that I joined is also commonly known as a dragon lobby, meaning that players kill dragons for loot. This made me realize something. There were 68 wise dragon fragments hiding in a chest on my island. If I could get 12 more for a total of 80 wise dragon fragments, then I could theoretically make a wise dragon chestplate, which since I played mage in dungeons and the wise dragon chestplate grants intelligence, I would be given a massive advantage over other players. And that is exactly what I intended to do. Every time a wise dragon spawned, I would use my bow to kill it as quickly as possible to get the fragments. If the dragon was not a wise dragon, then I would spend my time killing watchers with my frozen scythe for those ender monocles. And while I was doing this, something incredible happened. You see, I had switched to the griffin pet because they gave slightly more magic find, and magic find increases the chances of rare drops such as ender monocles. But in this case, it seems like magic find went a bit too far because the next time I looked into my inventory, I saw this. This is a 50% combat experience boost, the most powerful combat experience boost in the game. It has a 1 in 50,000 chance from dropping from those watchers I've been killing for monocles. But since I had absolutely no use for it right now, I just chucked into my vault along with the other stuff. And then something terrible happened. I was still 4 wise dragon fragments short of my chestplate, and the players in my lobby who were spawning the dragons were quitting. With a lot of persuasion, one of them finally agreed to do one last dragon. This was my only chance. From this last dragon, 3 incredible things happened. 1. The dragon happened to be a wise dragon. 2. I managed to get 4 fragments. And 3. Toadstar Zero, eat your heart out. So anyways, I crafted my Wise Dragon chestplate, reforged it to Wise, and got the sighted power up. So now, I was ready to do dungeons. Actually, I lied. Those who play Skyblock will know what this item is and realize that this is the biggest upgrade I've ever made. This is the aspect of the end. A sword that literally teleports you using 50 mana. And fortunately for me, I have plenty. So now it's time to do dungeons, and I already got a berserker. Ugh. Now the first floor that I can even play is the entrance floor, which isn't very interesting because all the mobs are super weak, and there's no boss fight, so I don't even get rewards. Now the next floor that I could play is floor 1, which does have a boss fight, meaning that I can actually get rewards. And all that I have written down in my notes is that I was a bit overprepared for this floor. And I wish I could say the boss fight was a little bit more difficult, but it wasn't. With this knowledge in mind, I can now start grinding for the 2 items that I want from this floor. which are 1. The Bonzo's Mask, which has a 3% chance to drop an obsidian chest, and 2. The Balloon Snake, which apparently doesn't exist at the time I'm posting this video. But after like 3 runs, I got bored, and so I decided to move on to floor 2. And I miscalculated how powerful the mobs are. But because I'm much better at the game than all of you are, I managed to get an S+ and got the most useless sword in the game. And about 4 runs later, I got an adaptive belt, which is a major upgrade that I wasn't going for. And despite being way more common than the adaptive belt, it took me a lot more tries to get the Scarf Studies, which just shows how bad Hypixel Skyblock's RNG is. And then here's an hour of footage where nothing interesting happens. And here's another hour. And here's a random recombobulator. And another recomb. 2 recombobulators and no mask. And finally, 2 hours total of floor 1s, and I finally got the stupid mask. And I still don't have the snake. 23 runs for a stupid snake, oh my goodness. Feeling a lot stronger than I had 2 dungeon pieces, I decided to do some floor 3. Here's a summary. There is no way I can complete this floor. Fortunately, my floor 3 party did manage to complete the boss fight, meaning that I was able to talk to Saul and give the recommendation to more, which means I could do entrance runs for frags and get better armor. But it's not dungeonized, and I used up all my essence on that shop earlier in the video. What am I gonna do now? Oh look, better armor. With my new armor, I can now defeat floor 3 easily, which would be great except for the fact that I don't want anything from floor 3. And so I began preparing for floor 4. I dungeonized my Frozen Scythe, which I probably should have done a long time ago, and also upgraded to a Shadow Goggles. Another Ironman told me to get a sheep pet, but I mean, Ironman is not easy. I'm not rich enough for a sheep pet. But either way, I placed down some sheep minions, and little did I know I wouldn't be collecting them for an entire year. And I also got full Rejuvenation 3 armor and 5-starred all of it. I'm pretty sure this is enough. There's just one problem with floor 4. All the mobs have some degree of magic resistance, meaning that magic abilities don't work very well on them. However, the mage's left click mage beam does work perfectly, so I just needed a good weapon. I think this will work. Why did I think that this will work? Yeah, this thing does not cut it. I thought mages were supposed to be good at clearing blood room mobs. The Bonzo boss fight took almost a full minute, how embarrassing. I thought that it would maybe work better on the higher floors. I don't know why I thought this. Without a good weapon, there's no way I can do floor 4. Oh look, I'm doing floor 4, but there's no way that I'm actually gonna get any good loot. Oh look, good loot. And 2 runs later, I got a spirit short bow. What is this look? In the end, the only thing that's slowing me down is that stuff like this kept on happening where my healing wand just doesn't heal fast enough. So it's time to get a better healing weapon. And the item that I want is the zombie sword, which has an ability where it instantly heals you. And here it is. And then I proceeded to spend another 30 minutes killing bosses for whatever reason. Anyways, it's back to floor 4. And only 3 runs later, I got a Spirit Wing. This was huge because if I could get 2 more Spirit Wings, I would be able to craft the Spirit Scepter, the 3rd best mage weapon in the game. It's also the flower that I threw into lava at the beginning of the video. I'm not sure when this happened, so I'm just going to throw it in randomly. I also got a treasure talisman, so more magical power is always nice. The next 3 runs were also incredible. I got another bone, a spirit pet, and another spirit wing. And then I hit a dry streak where I couldn't get anything for 15 runs. But on the 16th run, this happened. With all 3 wings acquired, the only thing left to craft the Spirit Scepter was 6 enchanted lapis blocks, which would have taken forever if I had not spent 50 hours making an extremely mid binding setup in the last video. An hour later, I was done. And now I have a new problem. When I actually craft this thing, I don't have enough mana to use it correctly. And instead of getting more mana, which will probably take several more hours, I decided just to use all my Ultimate Wise books. At some point, which I don't remember, I recombobulated my Spirit Scepter. So now it looks like this, and let's see if it was actually worth it. And for its test, I decided to see if it could solo a floor 3 dungeon, which it absolutely could. Well, with some help with my left-click mage weapon anyways. And the amount of power this thing has in floor 4, it's absolutely broken. Nobody ever exaggerates how powerful this thing is. But I have run into a slight issue. I don't have the damage for floor 5 and above, and really the only reasonable way to get more damage is with a sheep pet. And to level that up, I need to do something I do not want to do. How do I even do this?